Paul, do you know about the early days at the Kimberley diamond mines? Do you know what they did to the native workers who stole diamonds? Don't worry, they didn't kill them. That would be like junking a Mercedes just because it had a broken spring. No, if they caught them, they had to make sure they could go on working, but they also had to make sure they could never run away. The operation was called Hobbling.
Danny, whatever you're thinking about doing, please don't do it. Danny, for God's...
Shh, darling. Trust me.
God's sake.
It's for the best.
Danny, please!
Almost done. Just one more. God, I love you.
Losing out on the part lit a fire under Bates. She moved to Los Angeles, putting her in a position to land the role of a lifetime.
But you're not good. You're just another lying old dirty birdie. And I don't think I better be around you for a while.
Annie Wilkes, who kidnaps and tortures her favorite novelist. You gave her this humanity. You said Annie Wilkes is not a movie monster. She's a human being.
She was always reaching for something she couldn't have. She wanted to be a hero, totally misguided, of course, but she wanted to nurture people, take care of people, be worshipped, and just became totally obsessed with this guy. And I gotta tell you, I have that side to me. I certainly know what that feels like.
I was doing a live, I don't know, maybe last week sometime, and I mentioned that most black women treat their black men and boys as underlings, and they do what they can to do to retard their progress. Like, it was a recent survey maybe a couple of years ago about the reading levels of black boys in the 8th grade. And they found out that only 10% of the black boys in 8th grade could read at reading level. And what they found out nowadays is, I think, is 35, 40% of black men are functionally illiterate. Now, that doesn't raise any red flags. In fact, it goes unnoticed. I think the only people that really mention it is people in the black manosphere, and barely even that. But you get a New York Times article saying only 19% of black men are enrolled in Howard, and all of a sudden, all kind of sirens go off. And then shaming police come out and saying how illiterate and lazy and dysfunctional black men are, and how black women are actually running laps around black men. A lot of people were saying that was a wake-up call to black men to actually get back into college and try harder. But I saw the opposite. I saw black women using that to shame black men back into place, especially after the election of Donald Trump and the refusal of Kamala Harris. It has been traditional for black men to be retarded as far as education, going all the way back to really emancipation. Now, originally it was white men that didn't want black men to compete that actually retarded black men's progress. Consequently, since that is no longer the case, now you have black women retarding black men's progress and standing in the gap because they want control. So I mentioned this movie Misery and this process that she used on the victim in that movie called Hobbling, where she broke his ankles. And she explained why she did it, because she didn't want him to escape. She wanted him to stay with her, and she didn't want to give him the ability to leave her. So she crippled him so that he couldn't escape, that he couldn't leave her, that he had to depend on her. He had to lay in that bed, and where she took care of him and semi-nurtured him, but he was always a captive. He could never get out of that box, and she would not let him out of that box. And by hobbling him physically, he couldn't leave. He could never leave her. He had to either be in the bed or in that wheelchair where she could restrict his movement. So in my mind, why I use the term misery and I use the term hobbling, and I'm going to use this term here, the psychological and social hobbling of black men, the psychological and social hobbling of black men to prevent them from what? Leaving. Why? Because, as I said, they got no place else to go. And every time the black men try to leave, whether it's dating another race, whether it's leaving the country with passport bros, whether it's dating, what they call the elite, the white women. So even if you date each other, they don't mind homosexual. What they don't want is for black men, straight black men, to be homosexual. In other words, they want to keep you in that little box where they can contain you, prevent you from leaving. That's why it's praised when a black woman dates outside of her race, and they even throw it back in our face constantly about how bad we are to date, how awful we are to date, and how they can't do it anymore. And then on the flip side, they talk about how miserable the dating pool is and how few men there are to date. Even though almost 70% of black men are unmarried and 55% of us don't have kids. And black women have the highest divorce rate and the lowest marriage rate of all groups. Plenty of men is that what they want is they don't want men per se. What they want is the option of men. They want the control of black men. They want black men to be their insurance policy. And if black men could economically compete with white men and other men, they'd probably find other women and they would leave. And black women know that. Most black men, I'm not saying any black man, most black men know that if he's with a black woman and he tries to progress beyond a certain point, she's going to try to do what? Hobble him. If you look at the obvious benefits of single-sex black boys' schools, it's not white men that oppose it. It's not white women that oppose it. It's black women that oppose it, especially your black intersectional feminists. They oppose single-sex schools for black boys. They oppose single-sex programs for black boys. My Brother's Keeper was just the latest of that ilk. Black feminists came out in droves and encouraged black males to go against My Brother's Keeper. Why? Because it didn't include girls. They know that if you put women, especially black women, in a black male program, it will cease to be a black male program. Eventually, the women will come in and take it over. It'll become a female program. Dr. Johnson told me about a couple of programs he started for black males on his campus. And the black women protested and protested and protested and hounded him until they allowed women into the program, girls into the program. Once he allowed girls into the program, slowly but surely they took it over. Slowly but surely they made sure that it was a female space. Slowly but surely they pushed the black boys out of leadership. They hobbled the program because they did not want black boys to progress without them. That's why the article in the New York Times about black boys not going to college and this kerfuffle about black men not going to college in the same numbers that black girls are going to college, they always put the fault on the boys and the young men that are ill-educated, even though the answers have been there for the last 50 years. Black boys get going to detention more, they get put in special education more, they look down on by their teachers, they get suspended more, they get harsher criticism, they get less help, and also they're graded much more harshly than everybody else. Black women they insist on not having programs for black boys. There are very few programs for black boys. Out of every 100 programs, 99 of them are for black girls. The only help a black boy can really get is if he goes to jail, goes to prison. And he can make sure that all those programs inside prison are for men. All of them, because there are no women. But on the outside, in this gynocracy, black women make sure that all the programs, all the money, and all the jobs prospects go to them. And they'll tell you, black men have to get it out of the mud. And sometimes when they get it out of the mud, black women will actually destroy it. Detroit 300, the 100 black men in Los Angeles, all these other programs have hostile black females trying to destroy it. Hostile black females trying to destroy it. Even when you look at the manosphere, okay, which is as much as we can do, is a black male space. The hostile black females are constantly trying to bombard it and break it down and destroy it, while also they encourage black males to try to break it down and destroy it. This is the constant, what I call hobbling, social hobbling, educational hobbling of black males. Look at Stacey Abrams' family, right? How could you have 5 kids, 3 girls and 2 boys, and all 3 of the women went to Ivy League schools, and the 2 boys barely got out of college, raised in the same family? And this is not unusual. I've heard this from more and more and more men, even the ones that are successful. The ones that are successful and went to college, they had to do it by themselves for the most part. They didn't get help from their family. If there were girls involved, the girls got the nod. My own family, the girls got way more help than the boys did. With the boys, we had to buy our own cars. The girls didn't buy a car until they were in their mid-20s. The girls always had help. The girls always help getting their apartments and getting their houses. The women always came together, pieced up, and made sure that the girls were good. When it came to the boys and it came to the men, they always retarded the boys' progress. I saw that with my own son. The girls were pushed to higher education. The boy was always shunted off. This is very common. There's no way you can get these kind of grades and these kind of results unless this is a very generational practice. I remember looking at the Monahan report. Until 1968, only 23% of black men ever graduated high school. 23%. A lot of you black men never got out of middle school. My father was one of them. He never made it past middle school. I know it's a Jim Crow era thing, but that's a very good fact. Most of your men did not graduate high school until after 1968. It's very recent, 50 years ago. Black girls have always gotten better grades and more promotion. Even back in the 1940s and 50s, 75% of your valedictorians in black high schools were female. What happened to the boys? How come the boys could not attain to that level? Are they saying that black boys especially are what? Faulty? Defective? They almost ran Judgy Bitch off the internet. I think she actually finally did get off the internet because she published a study, an article saying that white mothers raise better black boys than black mothers. And she gave 4 studies about black boys, their schooling, and their IQs. With black women, the black boys' IQ was in the low 80s, 81, 82, 83 points, right? Just above being an idiot. With a white mother, a black boy's IQ level was raised to 10 or 15 points higher. Instead of 81, 82, it was 90, 91, 93, up to like 98, which is normal. But they found out with a white mother, a black boy would do just as well as a white boy. A black man would do just as well as a white man with the right training. And your black women that complain about black men, they complain about black men not doing better, not being educated, not walking the path, and standing toe-to-toe with white men on a job, in the educational field. yada, 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 are the same ones hobbling black boys at the other end and doing nothing about it. Why? Because they want black men to get behind them, get behind their women and do what they say. So black women psychologically hobble their boys and psychologically hobble their men. And they gaslight us into telling us that it doesn't happen and that they love us, they care for us, and it would be a whole lot better if we weren't so defective. And that last post about us not going to college, that's a way of telling us and shaming us that we're defective. Not telling black boys especially how to get out of that lane, how to get out of that mindset and actually be successful. In fact, I've seen a few guys online saying that the reason that they are a success is because they were trained right, is because they were encouraged, is because there was a teacher that smiled upon. Black gynocracy is what it is. And I want to introduce a new term called psychologically hobbling a black man and using misery as the example. Even Kathy Bates, in her interview about the character in Misery, and she was saying that the character of Misery did not see herself as a monster. She saw herself as a hero. She saw herself as a caretaker. She saw herself as loving that man that she broke the ankles of. We hear the same thing amongst the women in Black America. We love our black men. We enjoy our black men. We will die for our black men, and the same women that hobble you because they think that they're taking care of us. They think they're doing the right thing by us, even though the stats don't show it. They have not only gaslit us, they've gaslit themselves that they're actually productively doing the best for black men and doing right by black men. And I respectfully disagree. Anyhow, with that, I'm going to jump off here. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.